Things that have never happened in the history of the universe are happening right now.
So what do you see this change as?
Well, they're extremely positive. We finally are getting our act together, and they're allowing things to move. The entire Earth is moving into another dimension. Another vibrations and frequencies of the whole Earth are changing to what's called the New Earth. And this is in the Bible, too, in the book of Revelations, when they talk about the new heaven and the new earth.
Yeah.
It's just that it's happening right now. But in order to move, our vibrations and frequencies of our own bodies have to change to match that of the Earth as it moves. See, the Earth is a living being, too, and it's moving into its next incarnation. It doesn't care if we go with it. We're just as happy if we didn't go with it. We're like fleas on a dog.
Remote viewing has been able to see what the reptilians actually can and can't do. The reptilians we have interacted with are highly telepathic, and they have extreme capabilities for neural engagement. They are a warrior species. They fight. Moreover, they like to fight. Apparently, they were genetically engineered originally as a mercenary fighting force. They broke off, are now independent, but they kept that ability. They are highly intelligent, and they have very low levels, if any, of empathy in terms of understanding, compassion, and that type of emotion.
From his background working for the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, Richard Doty was exposed to intelligence documents that reference both insect-looking ETs as well as reptilian ones.
If you read the intelligence reports, their skin was almost reptilian. If you just looked at them from the chest up, you could say the head looked more humanoid, but the body didn't. And that's why I believe the DIA classified the reptilians and the praying mantises in separate categories of quataloids, because they came from the same planet, the same tissue samples, the same crafts, same technology. The humanoid-looking ones, maybe we call them reptilians, their hands were really thick digits, 4 fingers.
There is another caste of reptilians that actually have more of a humanoid features. So they don't have the long snout. They're not what you call your stereotypical reptilians, but they have some scales. They look almost like humanoid hybrid reptilian beings. Currently on Earth, there's still reptilian factions that have control of the Earth governments and the Earth religious sectors. These beings are maybe human in appearance, but some of them are full reptilians and some of them are reptilian hybrids. When I talk about full reptilians that appear humans, I'm talking about shape-shifting reptilians. So reptilians have the ability to shape-shift, to look like something that they're not. So they're masters of deception and they're masters of disguise. They do it energetically. It is actually kind of a physical energetic transformation where they put on a shell that looks kind of a human shell, but they can't sustain it for very long, so they do it for short periods of time.
People are larger than those in the southern part of the world. You have children going to school, and they're seeing this map.
Right.
They're seeing a distortion.
Yeah.
Of size, of shape, of location, of importance. In order to use this map at all, you have to take this piece off here, and put it over here. And now you see The United States is no longer in the middle of the map.
Right.
Now, I did this with a major record company in New York City, I think in 1970. And an older man stood up in the back of the room and said, "Now, Elliot, you've gone too far." I said, "What's your problem?" "You can't do that with the map." I said, "Well, actually you can." He said, "No, the United States isn't in the middle of the map anymore." I said, "The United States never was in the middle of the map. You need to realize this depends on how you draw your map." And then I pointed this little fact out to him. South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland.
Even though it doesn't really look like it.
No, it is. South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland.
It's crazy.
Now, according to your social studies teachers, what is the equator? Halfway between the North Pole and the South Pole on this map would be right about here.
Right.
And that means that Iowa has a semi-tropical climate.
Yeah.
Well, you've been in Minnesota in the
I've
wintertime.
been in Iowa too. It's definitely
You know that it doesn't have a tropical climate. So you have to then introduce a real version of the map of the world. That's what this is doing.
Oh, very good.
The Peters projection map. The sizes on this map are right. The shapes are distorted. Look at Greenland on this map. Right there, see it?
Yeah, it's really tiny.
All that is?
Right.
Look at it on the Mercator projection.
So why do they do that? I don't understand.
Why? Because the Pope commissioned Mercator to make a map that shows the spread of Christianity. So all the countries in which there are predominantly white people are larger than those in the southern part of the world, halfway between the North Pole and South Pole. Now, if you have children going to school and they're seeing this map,
Right.
they're seeing a distortion
Yeah.
of size, of shape, of location, of importance. If they're looking at this map, they're seeing a distorted, shape distorted, but size and location and importance makes sense. This makes no sense.
Right.
On that map, Alaska is bigger than Mexico. On this map, Mexico is bigger than Alaska. And look at Canada on this map. Look at that thing. That much is map. Look at Canada on a properly constructed map.
Yeah.
Do you think that's important?
It's a world of difference, actually.
A world of difference. That's a good thought. Look at there. Look at South America and compare it to Greenland on this map.
Right. It's almost like we're teaching kids that we're bigger, we're better.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. That's exactly what this map. That's exactly what this map is supposed to do.
Right.
What we have in this country and call education is indoctrination. We start at 3. We used to start at 5. From the northernmost point of Canada to the southernmost point of South America, all the people in here are Americans. North Americans, Central Americans, South Americans. These are all Americans. You can't put up a wall to keep Americans out because we're all Americans.
The full UFO bill text just dropped. Yo, check this out. If you watched my last video, you know that the Senate just announced on Friday, July 13th, that they're proposing legislation to basically go public about what the government knows about UFOs and bodies and craft. Here's the actual bill legislation. It's titled the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act of 2023. Y'all, look at what's in this, but look at the actual text that's in this bill. So it starts out by laying out the purpose of the legislation and defining a few key terms, etc. So we see here, the federal government records concerning UAP should carry a presumption of immediate disclosure, and all records should be eventually disclosed to enable the public to become fully informed about the history of the federal government's knowledge and involvement surrounding UAP. UFOs, that's their new government name for it. They go into some definitions. So the first one we see that's interesting here is close observer, meaning anyone who's come to close proximity to unidentified anomalous phenomenon or non-human intelligence, which they go on to define later. And then they also define a controlled disclosure campaign, which is basically this process of going public with whatever this alleged information is. And a lot of people have been talking about this, but they make a clear distinction that we're not talking about U.S. black budget, we're not talking about the Chinese, we're not talking about the Russian, because they have this prosaic attribution, which means having a human, either foreign or domestic origin, and operating according to current, proven, and generally understood scientific and engineering principles, and established laws of nature, and non-attributable to non-human intelligence. So basically what they're saying is, we're not talking about things that have a prosaic attribution. This is specifically stuff that is outside of that definition, which they also define further later. It's also interesting they specifically define public interest as means the compelling interest in the prompt public disclosure of UAP records for historical and governmental purposes and for the purpose of fully informing the people of the United States about the history of the federal government's knowledge and involvement surrounding UAP. Interesting. More definitions. What are we actually talking about? Technologies of unknown origin. They define it as any materials or metamaterials, ejecta, crash debris, mechanisms, machinery, equipment, assemblies or subassemblies, engineering models or processes, damaged or intact aerospace vehicles, and damaged or intact surface, ocean, and undersea craft associated with UAP, or incorporating science and technology that lacks prosaic attribution, what we just talked about earlier, or known means of human manufacture. We're not talking about black budget programs, y'all. So all of the rumors and allegations have been that there are these legacy programs that have existed for a long period of time. They define what a legacy program is. They say all federal, state, local government, commercial industry, academic, private sector endeavors to collect, exploit, or reverse engineer technologies of unknown origin or examine biological evidence of living or deceased non-human intelligence that predates the date of the enactment of this act. That's what a legacy program is. They then go on to define what they mean by non-human intelligence. The term non-human intelligence means any sentient intelligence, non-human life form, regardless of nature or ultimate origin, that may be presumed responsible for UAP or of which the federal government has become aware. They define it specifically in federal legislation for the first time. So what is this word unidentified anomalous phenomenon that they keep trying to use instead of UFO? They also define that as well. UAP means any object operating or judged capable of operating in outer space, the atmosphere, ocean surfaces, or undersea, lacking prosaic attribution due to performance characteristics and properties not previously known to be achievable based upon commonly accepted physical principles. UAP are differentiated from both attributed and temporarily non-attributed objects by one or more of the following observables. They define what we're talking about: instantaneous acceleration, absent apparent inertia; hypersonic velocities, absent thermal signatures or sonic shock waves; transmedium, meaning they can travel through air, space, and the ocean without any change in performance characteristics; positive lift, contrary to aerodynamic principles; anti-gravity, meaning it can float around without any kind of means of propulsion; and multispectral signature control. But wait, there's more. They also include anything with physical or invasive biological effects to close observers and the environment. And the term unidentified anomalous phenomenon, the umbrella term, includes the following previously described things: flying discs, flying saucers, unidentified aerial phenomenon, unidentified flying objects, and unidentified submerged objects. This is written in the language of this new bill and legislation. They then go on to list everybody in the federal government that is going to be subject to having to give up records. This is just a small portion of the list. And the list goes on. They also mention that no unidentified anomalous phenomenon record created by a person or entity outside the federal government shall be withheld, redacted, or postponed from public disclosure or be reclassified. They then talk about the new review board for how this is all going to be processed. The president will get to appoint 9 people to this board. That will have to happen within 90 days after the act is enacted. So 90 days after this goes live, those nominations are going to have to take place. The president will have to consider nominations from these various parties, including Senate people, Secretary of Defense, National Academy of Arts and Sciences, the American Historical Foundation. There's like a lot of people that have to be involved in this process. The review board also has subpoena power, meaning they can have hearings and call witnesses that have to legally show up, and they can also provide those witnesses with whistleblower protection so they don't have to worry about legal jeopardy if they talk about classified information. They're giving people immunity, y'all. witness immunity. And towards the end, this is probably the craziest part. Disclosure of recovered technologies of unknown origin and biological evidence of non-human intelligence. The federal government shall exercise eminent domain, meaning they can go in and just take whatever they want, over any and all recovered technologies of unknown origin and biological evidence of non-human intelligence that may be controlled by private persons or entities in the interest of the public good. There is so much in here that I didn't even cover. If you guys want more, like, share, and comment, and let me know. And this is available online. It's 64 pages. You can read it yourself. I encourage everybody to go and actually read it yourself. Read it yourself. I think you'll be surprised.